अभी जो प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट है उसका पोटेंशियल आपको प्रीवियस गवर्नमेंट से बेटर लगता है कि वो कुछ कर पाएंगे इसमें, कि उनके भी हाथ की बात नहीं है?
2014 के मैनिफेस्टो में उन्होंने कहा था that they will deport and expel every illegal migrant, and they also made the statement that persecuted Indic communities from across the world will find shelter in this country. This is not the first year of this government, this is the 6th year of this government. Okay? पिछले 5 साल में आपका analysis क्या है? What do you think? Do you think they've done enough? Okay, then you've answered the question. I didn't have to answer the question at all. Okay, let's put this, let's just do a poll here. How many people believe that the government has done enough on the aspect of illegal migration?
Not done enough, but they have moved from 0 to 1 at least.
And what would that be, sir? Just explain what is 0 to 1 in this case.
Previous government has not done it.
Okay, so what have they done? Saying is not doing, so what have they done?
They have started thinking in that direction.
In which year? 2019. What did they do in 2014? When did the Citizenship Amendment Bill come about? 2016. What were they doing from 14 to 16? Thinking. No. Okay, so here's where I don't disagree with you, but allow me to disagree with you on something else. The tragedy of Indian politics is the tragedy of poor expectations and low expectations. Because the one before, no, I'm not blaming you, sir. All I'm saying is the issue is so critical that somebody comes from negative to 0, it becomes positive. Okay? I certainly believe that this government is saying all the right things. I do not hold brief for the government, nor am I anti-government. I am simply saying, if you believe that you have done enough in the time that you already have had, then perhaps there is a serious problem in our definitions as to what qualifies as doing. I would only request you to follow the progress in the NRC case with respect to Assam and see what is the government's position and how long it has taken for them to address this particular issue. I'll give you only one example. So there are 3 judgments of the Supreme Court. One in 2005, one in 2006, and one in 2012. 17th of December 2014. Okay. 2005 judgment was called Sarvananda Sonowal versus Union of India. 2006 judgment was also called Sarvananda Sonowal versus Union of India. 2014 judgment came in a writ petition of 2012 called Assam Sanmilita Mahasangha versus Union of India. Just take a look at the judgment. It's publicly available. In the first judgment in 2005, the court struck down the IMDT Act of 1983, which was a legislation that was introduced with respect to Assam after the Assam students' agitation between 1979 and 1985, when the Assam Accord was entered into 1985. What was the fundamental grievance of the students of Assam? Our indigenous identity is being eviscerated. Why is it that you're applying a different cutoff date for illegal migrants for Assam when it is different for the rest of the country? Why are you not doing enough for deportation? And most importantly, the act which was introduced, the Illegal Migration Detection Tribunals Act of 1983, I think that's what the expansion stands for. You know what it did? Under the Foreigners Act, the person who is accused of being an illegal migrant has to prove that he is not an illegal migrant. In the IMDT Act of 1983, which was introduced to facilitate and speeden up the process of deportation and expulsion, the burden of proof was reversed. The person who accuses has to prove that the other person is an illegal migrant, otherwise he is a citizen. The legislation that was meant to speeden the process of deportation reversed the rules of burden. It took the Supreme Court to strike it down in 2005 after representations from 1979 to 1985 to 90 to 91, 93, 97. Every year the Assam Students' Union would meet the government and say, please repeal. Yes, we'll repeal. Please repeal. Yes, we'll repeal. No repeal, you go to court. Finally, they had to go to court. In 2005, that was struck down. Because the court said, the numbers are given there. What are the numbers here when it comes to explosion of the population here? What are they eating? There must be some children that they're eating that they're exploding like this, okay? In terms of population, I don't know what is that. or something else is happening. The government recognizes the push factor and the pull factor, rather the Supreme Court recognizes this, which is to say, there are certain push factors from the other side and there are some pull factors here. One of the pull factors is cultivation of vote banks inside this country. The Supreme Court recognizes this. And then the Supreme Court recognizes 3 lakh cases initiated. How many people deported? Is that a 3-figure number? Yes, 3-figure number. In 200s and 300s, and sometimes in 20s. It dwindles down to 20s in 2005. So the Supreme Court says, please strike it down. You already have a Foreigners Act. Why do you need a separate legislation for the state of Assam? Focus on using the Foreigners Act and initiating NRC, because the last NRC was conducted in 1951. Initiate a fresh NRC and start setting up foreigners tribunals and deport these people. I can't use the word kick them out, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Deport them, okay? Then in 2006, there is a second judgment that comes out. Why? Because what they were asked not to do under the different legislation, they started doing it under a rule under the Foreigners Act. You can't do it directly. Oh, okay, that means I should do it indirectly. I'll do it. That is how we interpreted it. Again, the Supreme Court had to step in and say, I just told you not to do this. That doesn't mean that you can do it under a different legislation. So this happened. Then the Supreme Court says, did you man the fence? Did you ensure that the entire border is fenced? What kind of electronic measures have you put in that particular place? That status report is filed slowly. And by that time, again, these people have lost their patience. They approached the Supreme Court in 2012. In 2012, they're basically saying, look, under Section 6A, which was introduced in the Citizenship Act as special provisions relating to Assam, you seem to be giving special treatment to people between 1966 to 1971. I don't understand, why are you giving them that special treatment? First you said it's 1966, which is the cutoff. Then you have gradually pushed it to the 24th of March 1971. They challenged that particular provision, and that provision and that challenge to the provision continues to be before the Supreme Court from 2012. We are in 2019. Why? Because the Supreme Court had basically said this requires a larger bench, a 5-judge bench. The 5-judge bench is yet to be constituted over the last 7 years. Okay, and the judgment in that particular case, the interim judgment, was passed on the 17th of December 2014. I suspect this government came to power in the 16th of May 2014. Correct? Okay. The government's position there was, there's nothing wrong with that particular provision, it's perfectly legal and constitutional. You tell me I'm wrong. I will name the lawyers who appeared, who represented the government. Not that they did anything wrong, they're only representing the government, they're only messengers, they can't do anything wrong. But the point is, the government's position is on record. This is a judgment of Justice Rohington Fali Nariman and Justice Ranjan Gogoi when he was not the Chief Justice. There is a website called indianqanun.org. Any law student will tell you that. It's publicly available. Just search for Assam Sanmilit Mahasangh, that word, on Google, and this will be among the top hits you'll get for this particular judgment. Read the last few paragraphs, where the court has given detailed instructions to the government, asking them to do the following things with respect to the border, and keep filing status reports in terms of their progress. This was 2014. Now I would request you to try and find out, and all of this is publicly available, the affidavits that the government has filed from 17th of December 2014 with respect to the progress after the directions were given. Okay? Once you read that, then you should ask yourself, ये minus से zero हुआ है या minus to minus हुआ है और अभी तक zero नहीं पहुंचा है? Positive की बात तो छोड़ ही दीजिए. I am merely saying, whatever political drama is played or whatever it is, I'm not even going to get into that. I'm simply saying that the issue is beyond politics. It requires serious political will and commitment and realization that even if this government believes that it has a future and it will be re-elected in the future, it cannot hope to be re-elected if there is a demographic alteration, period. Okay? As simple as that. There is, in fact, I am saying, I'm dangling a carrot. You have a political incentive to act, so please act. You don't care about dharma, you don't care about civilization, you don't care about identity. I'm sure you care about that blessed 4-letter word. What is that? It starts with F, no, V, vote. Okay. So that 4-letter word vote matters to you, right? And since it matters to you, protect your vote bank at least. I'm giving you a naked political incentive, do it. Because if that is the only way to push you in that particular direction, I'm happy to push you in that particular direction, because our lives, our futures, our careers, our land, our civilization is at stake. Our way of life is under serious threat. Okay, next question.
Good evening, Mr. Deepak. Congratulations for a very effective and very informative lecture.
Thank you.
And we are, I think, one in telling that we learned. But I have a small question, and that is doubt.
Okay, sir.
So far as NRC for Maharashtra, Assam, and everywhere you are asking, see, in our country, the land belongs to very limited people, upper class people or some people with lot of money. Lot of nomadic tribes are there who are Indians, but they do not have any document, land, or any proof to prove that
Right, sir.
they belong to India.
Right, sir.
Especially in a country like ours, where in Bihar that river which is flooded and crores of people have lost their property, document.
Right.
Similarly, in Assam, everywhere this happens.
Right.
So what measures the government is likely to take to ensure that those indigenous people, especially the tribes people,
Correct.
they are not branded as an illegal migrant?
Brilliant question.
Thank you so much.
I agree with you. So, when the Assam Accords were entered into, 2 points were considered. That under the IMDT Act, when expulsions happened, some genuine Indians were expelled. Okay, people of Assamese origin were expelled. This is one of the considerations and one of the concerns that they expressed to the government, that the sword that you have dangled, it seems to be cutting both ways, that people of this country are being kicked out and those who do not belong to this country are not being kicked out. So effectively, more than causing, or let's say more than addressing the problem, the legislation is exacerbating and worsening the problem. That's the position that they came out with. So to address this, specific operational measures were put in place, which is to effectively say, apart from you saying who you are, assume that you do not have documents. At the very least, there must be somebody who can vouch for you. Now I'll tell you where this went. Hold on. Has somebody heard of the introducer system under Aadhaar? Assume that you do not have any documents, then the village officer or the panchayat head can effectively introduce you as a person who he recognizes, and on that basis Aadhaar can be granted. This is how it actually started. Because the concept of UIDAI was primarily conceived of to address this question with respect to illegal migration. Except that suspicions or apprehensions were aired to say that the dispensation which introduced it, I don't think it was the BJP dispensation, it was the non-BJP dispensation. When it introduced it, there were zero controls, as a consequence of which it would end up legitimizing everyone. Okay? Then they decided to add safeguards. The report of the parliamentary committee headed by Yashwant Sinha then pointed out the problems with the system and also the solutions with that particular system, particularly with respect to legitimizing and legalizing illegal migrants. Frankly speaking, it remains my belief that those safeguards have not been introduced even today when Aadhaar has been mainstreamed, as a consequence of which you regularly read reports of fake Aadhaars being issued all over the place or Aadhaar cards being issued to illegal migrants. Okay?
And legal citizens not getting there.
Correct. So one of the things when...
There was a report when Nagaland had started NRC.
Right.
And people from Rajasthan who settled there, I think, 100 years before, in Dimapur, they are being branded as foreigners.
Understood. I didn't know of this, but thank you for enlightening me with the nugget of information. I'll read it up. The one thing that also, with respect to Aadhaar, that people have aired, and as a legitimate concern, I'm not digressing, is when you try and use biometric information, particularly if it happens to be a daily wage laborer, his fingerprints are usually wiped off. They don't exist. Okay? And over the years, it only worsens. Each of these problems has been highlighted. In fact, there's a YouTube video where I think a kg of tomato was recognized as a human being by the system. Okay? This also exists. And this is not an extreme example. These were live examples which were aired as concerns when these so-called technological measures were being introduced as part of the Aadhaar system. Okay. Therefore, if you ask me as to what is the safeguard, I'm going to ask the safeguards that you employ for the purposes of grant of a passport, the safeguards that you employ for the purposes of verification for a driving license, at the very least, try and employ those safeguards even when you try and grant Aadhaar or for NRC. A police verification. Okay, somebody might say, but yes, you can manage even that. There is frankly no end to that because I don't think there is any foolproof system. But the one thing that you can certainly try and do is you create a deterrent for anyone who tries to screw around with the system. Particularly if he happens to be a member of the dispensation, a member of the government or a public servant who facilitates the grant of rights to illegal migrants or access to resources to illegal migrants. He must take the rap on his knuckle for any consequence. Then there is some kind of a deterrent. But precisely to address this, a completely parallel standalone system was recommended in the 175th Law Commission report and nobody has bothered to implement it so far. That was a report that was commissioned and published under the dispensation of Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Not by an adversarial dispensation, but by the Vajpayee government. I don't think that report has got its due. There are so many recommendations there where they say that if assume for a moment that you're not in a position to convince the other country to take back its citizens, ensure that these people are categorized as stateless people, they are not given voting rights, and they do not have the power to purchase immovable property because land is a precious resource and they cannot have access to it. Specific recommendations coming from experts on this particular point of view. So at least if you start thinking on those lines, I'm sure some solution will evolve. But the fact that you're not even thinking on those lines is where the problem is. Yes, next. I'll let the moderator decide who's supposed to ask the question.
Throw light on one contradiction.
Yes, sir.
एक अंतर्विरोध की तरफ सिर्फ ध्यान आपका आकर्षित करना चाहता हूं
जी बोलिए
कि कभी-कभी केंद्र करना चाहता है
जी
लेकिन राज्य उसमें सहयोग नहीं देगा जबकि इलीगल माइग्रेंट को बाहर निकालने के लिए जो यंत्रणा की आवश्यकता होती है वो राज्य सरकार की अपनी है।
जी सही कह रहे हैं सर।
और दोनों के पॉलिटिकल इंटरेस्ट क्लैश होने के कारण
जी
ये समस्या से समाधान नहीं निकल पाता, ये कई दफा देखा है।
जी करेक्ट
तो इसमें कानूनी या व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन अबाउट दिस पोजीशन?
Okay, sir. Okay. Just, I think it's a very good question. Let's address it from a factual standpoint today. The largest political party in the world is in power in at least 19 states. And it is in power at the center as well. Right? इनकी membership तो इतनी बढ़ गई ना? No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying something else. I'm absolutely open to try and answer questions which are genuinely pointing towards counterfactuals or let's say hypothetical situations. आप सही कह रहे हैं. I'm not denying that at all. Okay, but when it is possible for the government to actually initiate this exercise in states where the same party is in power, what happens then is this. When you initiate an exercise and the results come out, there will be pressure from the public in other states where you're not in power to basically say, when all these states are opening themselves to an NRC exercise to expose the problems in their society, why is our government not doing it? That's when public pressure builds. You try and create an example by practicing what you preach in the states where you are in power. Right? That is one, let's say, straight off factual answer. Second, if it is the government's and the central government's sole power to expel foreigners, that means legally the buck starts and stops with the central government. And if the state government does not cooperate, aren't there examples of the state and the center fighting out in courts? Take them to court. And certainly tell the people of that particular state that your own state dispensation is unwilling to subject itself to this exercise and cooperate with me, and this is to your detriment. I'm sure they know how to milk this politically. I don't need to teach them, right? I'm sure that it will give them another tool or handle to paint the other party in poor light before its own people. So, frankly speaking, there are political solutions and there are legal solutions. But let the government actually say, I have committed X number of resources for the initiation and the conclusion of this exercise for X number of states. I have written to these states and I have told them that I am willing to take the responsibility for it. You please cooperate with me. And the following states have effectively disagreed. Let them put it out in public domain. I'm not going on a witch hunt of any particular dispensation or government. I'm simply saying the cause is so important and so critical that excuses like these cannot fly and they cannot be tolerated, particularly because it involves the future, immediate future, not a future about 15 or 20 years later. So today, to address your question, the BJP is in power in how many states today? 18, 19, 16? 16 after the last assembly elections? 16 at least? Initiate the process in 16 states. Uttarakhand is seeing a heavy influx of illegal migrants. Uttarakhand. Regular reports coming out from that place that something is going wrong. Why not? Why not Uttar Pradesh? The largest state in the country. Why not Maharashtra? So the thing is sometimes tark ka jawab to sirf fact ho sakta hai and these are the facts.
This cannot be excused.
I'm saying these cannot be excuses. These are namby-pamby excuses according to me. Yes, please.
मुझे पूछना है
जी.
कि आपने प्रॉब्लम तो बता दिया, इसका अगर सोल्यूशन, जैसे मैं रहता हूँ एयरपोर्ट के पास
जी.
वहाँ पे एयरपोर्ट के बाउंड्री को लग के बांग्लादेशी बस्ती है
जी.
अगर एज एन इंडिविजुअल मुझे अगर कंप्लेंट करना है
जी.
तो हमारे यहाँ पे सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि आवर एमएलए चीफ मिनिस्टर, सो एक्सेसिबिलिटी लिमिटेड है.
ओके.
एमपी उनका खुद का घर भी अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है तो पता नहीं कहाँ मिलना है.
जी सर.
और अगर कारपोरेटर को पूछूंगा
जी.
तो बोलेगा तू ही बता दे यार.
हाँ.
तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में एज एन इंडिविजुअल
जी.
कैसे जाना चाहिए, पुलिस कंप्लेंट पहले या क्या,
ठीक है.
हाउ टू गो फॉर इट?
ओके. जी बोलिए प्लीज.
Who's running this poor show? Is it constitution, government, or court, or is it us?
The public revelation is I'm hard on hearing in one ear, so kindly give him the mic.
Sir, who's running this poor show? Is it constitution, government, or court, or is it us?
What show did he say? Poor show is
Poor
it?
show. Like this, illegal immigrant and
Okay. Okay. ठीक है. See, in a democracy, I think at least the initiative or the responsibility for starting an action lies with the government. If the matter ultimately goes and gets stuck in the court, keep blaming the courts. At least then the government has an excuse to say, मैंने तो अपना काम कर दिया, अभी court में अटका पड़ा है, मैं क्या करूँ? Let them at least do that. But if you don't initiate action, then it creates a semblance of a doubt, at least a modicum of doubt, saying, आपकी मंशा है या नहीं? Do you have any interest in acting on this issue or not? So, in that sense, I agree with the previous gentleman who mentioned that at least they're talking about this issue and at least they're making concrete strides in this particular front. I will not be a pessimist. I am a die-hard realist optimist. And to the extent that they've decided to talk about this issue is great. I'm only saying that perhaps you should go beyond that and quickly start acting on it. Now coming to your question, sir. Last week, was it, that the report came that 2 Rohingyas approached the Supreme Court? Right, the Supreme Court agreed to hear the plea of 2 Rohingyas. An illegal migrant seems to have the confidence to approach a court of law to protect his rights. Why aren't individuals in the country lacking in confidence in approaching the court asking for deportation of illegal migrants? I would simply say, approach the court and impress upon the court the seriousness with which you have taken it by filing multiple petitions. And it should be across the country. Assume for a moment 100 different petitions land in the Bombay High Court, in the Madras High Court, in the Calcutta High Court, in the Jharkhand High Court, in Dehradun and other places. Are you telling me that this will not put enough pressure on the government as well as the courts, saying that the public is taking it seriously, therefore you might as well start getting your act together on this issue? Having said that, let me also say that the general perception, may or may not be true, is that some causes are more important and some causes are not that important when you go to court. Okay, that is also an impression. Maybe there is an element of truth to it. I don't know beyond that if I can say. But at the very least, you can tell the government that I am forced to go to court because you have chosen not to do anything about it and you have pushed me to the wall and therefore I'm going to court. At the very least, that is the message that approaching the court of an individual conveys to the establishment, that I have had to knock the doors of the court because you have done nothing about this particular issue and all you've been doing about it is talking, or even not even talking. So if there is, let's say, a proceeding that can be initiated under the Foreigners Act, either by the government or the establishment or let's say the police authorities, and they fail to do so, I categorically put my money where my mouth is to say that an individual has the right to approach the court in a writ petition asking for deportation. Try filing that particular petition. If it doesn't work, then we'll see, but this is something that you can certainly do. Because it's surprising that the other side has the confidence to approach the court for everything. And we don't seem to be doing that enough. Therefore, my central message has been, kindly do not assume that one particular organ of the state is the fiefdom of any particular ideology. Ye kisi ki jagir nahi hai. It is the Supreme Court of India. Therefore, everybody has the right to approach the court for justice. The unfortunate part is, most of these petitions, when they are filed in courts, are filed without research. They have a lot of political arguments as opposed to legal arguments. They are poorly represented, as a consequence of which an individual's failure affects the cause. That could be equally with respect to denial of minority status for Hindus in certain states, despite the fact that they are a numerical minority. That's the answer. Yes, somebody else had a question. Yes, sir.
I have one question to you. During last 5-6 years, this government has been speaking about the two sentences, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, added to it, Sabka Vishwas. Now, what this has, do you think that this, the number of rights that has come down during this period in this government, this has given more safety, security and flourish to that particular community, or will lead to a bigger unrest that is going to come in near future?
Let me try an exit option from this question. Is it connected to the topic?
Yes, sir.
How?
Because what I feel is if a particular community is feeling more safe.
I'm not running away from the question. Explain the relevance and then I'll answer. Yes.
Because once, if you're asking about the Indian identity.
Yes.
So Indian identity, does it only mean that we are talking about Hindus?
Okay.
But when it comes to other religions that are in this country, and they
right.
and if you are afraid of one particular community in particular,
right.
So if they are feeling safe because the number of rights have come down,
right.
They are feeling more safe, they are feeling more secure, now they are flourishing more.
Sir, but I am told that they're all scared.
This is what you
Is it not?
No, so my concern is a bit different.
At least that's what I am seeing on social media and newspapers. They're all scared.
That is what is
So they're
told.
terribly scared. Whatever they do is only out of fear. Fear is making them do things that they would have otherwise never done. I'm sorry, I stand up for the community. You're wrong, sir.
Okay, thank you.
They're 100%, frankly speaking, I think, and I'm going to put my faith in credible, reliable mainstream media, because I'm sure that they're paragons of truth and virtue. I'm absolutely sure that they mean every word that they say, they verify every report before they publish. I'm 100% sure that they've actually gone to the field before they publish whatever they've published. And going by what they say, they're all scared. So something needs to be done more. This is not enough. I don't think we're doing enough to actually address concerns of this Dara Hua. Can I say it? No, I shouldn't be saying it. So you can't say it. So my point is, over the last 2 weeks, if you think that riots have come down, sorry, sir, a Durga temple was destroyed in the capital of the country. Okay? I don't agree. Frankly speaking, antisocial elements and elements who have a vested interest in fermenting and spewing communal violence have gained more traction, especially after the 23rd of May 2019, as a consequence of which there have been a spate of incidents. I am not going to hold any particular community responsible. I'm simply saying that as long as India continues to be a soft state where there is no repercussion or deterrent for any kind of crime, anybody will get away with anything. Nobody has the fear that a certain act will translate to a certain legal consequence and it will come back to bite him. And I don't think any dispensation has changed that impression of India, that it remains a soft state and it responds to stone pelting and stone pelting alone. And that impression needs to be changed. If you cannot change that impression with 303 and you couldn't change that impression with, what was it, 282, what are you going to change it with? With 543. Then effectively it's only an excuse. Or do or karunga, or do or karunga. This is an Akshay Patra. It can take more votes but cannot deliver. I don't think that's the way it's supposed to operate. Somewhere I think you have to draw the line between mollycoddling, rabid, rapacious, savage, barbaric sentiments and pushing it under the basket of victimhood. And using that as a means to gag any kind of inquiry into the facts of a certain issue. What exactly happened? How is it that in one lane and in only one lane where Hindus live and there is a temple, that temple is destroyed, it's vandalized, idols and broken idols are urinated upon, and there are videos of it. They're scared, sir, they're scared. Yes.
We'll be taking one last question because our speaker leaves tonight itself. So please just stick with the time constraint and just go ahead with one question.
Yes. Ji. Ji.
So are we going towards the civil war? Moving towards the civil war?
I take it it's a rhetorical question. I don't know. I don't think I have either the wisdom to predict anything. Someone who...
जिस तरीके की परिस्थितियां 1947 में पैदा हुई थी, उसी तरफ क्या हम अभी जा रहे हैं?
नहीं सर, उससे बदतर स्थिति है अभी. Because at least then you could openly stand up for your rights. And people who would have stood up for your rights would be open about it. Today, everybody wants to polish and burnish his politically correct secular credential and walk around. As a consequence of which, the truly orphan community in this country is, I leave it at that.
The common citizens were protesting against a huge volume of migrants coming from the Middle East.
Correct.
And the basic argument of those people in South Korea and Japan was that, they're not Japanese or South Korean and we want to protect our values, whereas they do take in people from Thailand and so on.
Correct.
So, do you think the whole confusion around illegal immigration and should we let them in or not is basically a question of identity, as you said?
Of course it is.
Because the Indian identity is itself a matter of debate between the political left and the political right, so-called. So, do you think first it is important to define an Indian identity?
Which is why I said that the first priority should be to get your civilizational identity in order. If you lack the civilizational confidence to take a position as to who you are and where you come from, you create a situation of confusion, and that situation of confusion facilitates a lot of mischievous actors. And that opens the doors for a lot of anti-Indic elements to enter this part of the country or this country. It is really surprising that smaller nations and younger nations have much more civilizational confidence than the Indian nation. Poland has the guts to openly stand up to the BBC and the rest of the Western media to say, we will do what is in the best interests of our people, period. We do not care for the opinions of BBC. That is the clear statement that the Polish foreign minister comes out with. I am not sure how many of us, forget politicians, how many of us in our circles have the guts, the confidence, the presence of mind, the gumption, and let's call it the, I don't wish to use the word, to basically take the position in our office spaces, in college spaces. The moment you see yourself outnumbered by a certain point of view because there is peer pressure and because that's a politically correct opinion, you either keep your mouth shut or you change your opinion or you say, no, I have got nothing to do with politics. Why should I get into this issue at all? If that is the spineless, gutless position that you as a private citizen take in your private circles, you're bound to produce people who represent you like that. Because you are throwing up that options as a society. They have not come from anywhere else. I'm sure that God did not send them. In which case I have to perhaps become agnostic or atheistic. But the point is, these are the kind of options that you have thrown up from your midst, and you have given them the right to write your destinies. And they don't seem to have the confidence to openly say, what are you telling me that after 2000 years, and at least from 700 AD, after going through such nonsense, I still don't have the right, the freedom and the liberty to say who I am and who this country belongs to and what is its civilizational identity? I've still not used the word religion. I'm saying civilizational identity. Because it is all encompassing. Thank you.